Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome to another week of Awaken and Align. I hope you are all doing well. I am here again. I really wanted to show up before Aries season started to share all of my knowledge, all of my wisdom with you so that you can start this solar new year with a bang, with the fullest potential that you have within you to bring forth all the creations and dreams into this 2021 new year. But before I get into it, I wanted to make two quick announcements. The first one is I am co-hosting a new moon prosperity workshop with one of our previous guests on this podcast, Roberta Romero, on episode 111. She talked about quantum physics, shifting realities and timelines, and she's a fellow Kundalini yoga teacher. It's going to be this Saturday, March 13th, 2021 at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. noon Eastern time. I guess it really depends on when you're listening to this. If you're listening to this right when it launches on Wednesday, March 10th, then you will have enough time to sign up. And for our podcast listeners, we have a special 10% off discount code for you. You can use the code prosperity10 for 10% off. We're going to do a 90-minute workshop. I'm going to talk about these new moon energies and we're going to set intentions. And I'm going to talk a little bit about these new moon energies today so you have an idea. But it's a huge, huge day. And I know I say that a lot about a lot of days, but this one in particular is so juicy, so beautiful, so expansive and prosperous that I really wanted to do something on this particular new moon in Pisces. And we're going to do the Prosperity Kriya. A lot of you know it on my YouTube channel, the Suba Kriya for Prosperity. And Roberta is going to talk about quantum physics and shifting realities. And if you've listened to her episode, you know the kind of work that we're talking about. So if you want to experience this 90-minute experience, it's again this Saturday, March 13th, and the exchange is $44. So make sure to use your code. And with everything, we do everything with energetics. So 44 is really the number, 4 is the number of Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion. It's, if you think about in numerology, 4 is building your foundations, the 4 pillars. So I don't just pick these numbers randomly. It's really how I feel energetically aligned to the exchange and also the meaning of the workshops that I put forth. So I hope you'll join us for that. And then every Thursdays, Jupiter Thursdays, Day of Expansion, if you follow me on Instagram, you know what that's all about. At 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Clubhouse, my sister and I are hosting Spiritual Tea, which is where we get a bunch of BIPOC women in the spiritual communities to talk about real 3D things like climate change, systemic racism, about our own lived experiences here in America and abroad, and also how we want to use our gifts, our spiritual gifts, to bring about the change that we are seeking. Because it's not just about ascension and being multidimensional and being in the 5D. That is who we are at our core. We are all spiritual beings, but we are having a human experience in the flesh, in our specific skin suits that we incarnated into. And I think the most important thing is to remember that we are human and that we are unique and different in the embodiment of the cultures and the ancestors and the lineages that we came in with. And to just deny that part of ourselves is missing out on a huge piece of who we truly are. And so we're craving these conversations on a broader scale with a larger expanded audience. So I'm one of those like Gen X, I think, millennials, like elder millennials, where I'm still figuring out what Clubhouse actually is. But my sister got into it and I'm so proud of her because she is not an early adopter to these kinds of things. If anything, I'm an early adopter, but she was like, let's do this. And I have these conversations with a lot of my spiritual BIPOC friends, and a lot of them I've had on this podcast. So a lot of them you will recognize. So join us on there every Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. It's called Spiritual Tea, where if you've been following me on this podcast or TikTok or Instagram, you know that I like to talk about pop culture. I like to talk about politics and everything in between. And again, we are just spiritual beings having a human experience. And I think that includes everything. And it doesn't have to be deep all the time. It doesn't have to be heavy all the time. It can actually be really fun. And I told Sarah that I wanted to call it the spiritual tea, because whenever I go on TikTok and people spill the tea, it's like, I don't know, the whole feeling of it feels a little lighter to me. It's like having tea time with your friends, even though I'm not a huge tea drinker. I want to get more into having these deeper conversations with more people. So join us there. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about the energies of this week leading up to the new moon, leading up to Aries season, the spring equinox, which I'm not one of these people, but my solar return, aka my birthday, is on March 20th, which happens to be the spring equinox. And so our birthdays when we were born are called our solar returns because we go by the solar calendar here in America, and in many other cultures they go by the lunar calendar. Like my parents who grew up in Korea go by the lunar calendar, which in their culture the moon was a little bit more of significance to them. And now that I'm getting older, I really do identify a little bit more with my moon in Aquarius, which is all about future forward thinking. It's about the community and humanitarian work. And that's kind of more of the work that I'm leaning more into. My sun sign being in 000 Aries, which is like, hi, I came into this world to shine in my warrior embodiment. Yes, that is something that I felt I was really called to be in for the majority of my life, was this warrior energy, this wanting to shine in my own light. But now I feel very called to work with my moon, being of service to other people, making this world a better place. So knowing your moon, your sun, and your rising sign will give you a better sense of your own energies. And that's why it's hard to say exactly, like when people say, what's your zodiac sign or what sign are you? You're an embodiment of so much. Your specific energy and frequency is a bunch of energies, if I'm being quite honest. If anything, I feel really aligned to my Libra energy because I have so much Libra placements in my 11th house, that I really feel this sense of needing to bring justice and balance and fairness into this world. And that's why I'm shifting a lot of what I'm doing into more social justice work, and really trying to create the change in this earth, in this physical reality, um, that is going to help people. And I don't think anything's an accident. I actually believe you are shown signs and synchronicities on a consistent, constant basis. And the things that I'm shown right now are so indicative of what I feel called to do. And I love the arts, obviously. I love watching documentaries. I love music. I love watching movies. And just the things that I've been watching recently, which I don't even really watch TV, but I watched this crime drama, which I'm like obsessed with. I love all those crime podcasts, but I watched this one about the Cecil Hotel, which is really good actually on Netflix. But the main message that I got from that, in addition to mental health, and I'm not going to spoil it, but this area of LA called Skid Row, where there's thousands and thousands of homeless people just living in tents and, you know, 5 miles away, not even maybe 5 miles away, there's these really, really rich people building condominiums and gentrifying the area. And it just made me think, like, what kind of world do we live in if we allow people to live on the streets like that, intense, having to go to the bathroom in the streets, while also having people live in the same earth with this massive amount of wealth? And I really do believe that some people were, and I'm going to get emotional because some people were just dealt a shitty hand at life, right? And I've traveled this world, like, I've been to so many different countries, wealthy and not wealthy, but wealthy in different ways. And some people were just dealt a shitty hand. And who's to say, if I didn't have parents and I didn't have all the opportunities that I had, that I wouldn't also be in those tents, in those situations? You know, I was just fortunate enough in this lifetime to have all the opportunities, to parents who had jobs, who were healthy, who, you know, came to this country and made a life for themselves and saved up money to move to the suburbs so my sister and I could go to a good school, a good public school, and go to college, and just all of these things that I've always taken for granted. And, you know, when I was going to high school and going to college, and I'm not even saying that I'm fully aware of all the privilege that I hold. I can't even say that because I know I do. But that's why I feel that spirit is showing me these movies and these documentaries and these TikTok videos, even, of people who are living life in a different way, showing me the imbalance and the unfairness of it all. And you can't just throw life away. Every life on earth is sacred. And it goes back to the 12 universal laws that I spoke about in the last episode, which I highly recommend, not just because I, you know, said, you know, I led that podcast or I presented that information to you, but these are universal laws that you can find it all over the internet, in different spiritual texts, different spiritual understandings. And the first universal law is of divine oneness, and that we are all of one source. We are all of the same energy, and every life on this planet, in all different planets, if you believe in that, are sacred. Every plant, every tree, every animal, every being on this earth is worthy to experience its fullest potential. And I don't know, it's really easy for us to turn a blind eye to these things and say, well, oh, they did drugs, or oh, they committed a crime. And I'm not saying, like, obviously, you know, the people who have done serious damage and serious horrible acts, like that stuff I can't explain, and I still don't understand why this universe works that way. But I'm talking about people who just really didn't even have a chance, or lost their luck, lost their home, lost their job. And and how is it fair that we just don't even look at them, just ship them away to a certain area of this country and forget about them? And it just gives me, like, it really opens up, it cracks me open when I see those kinds of things. It literally melts my heart, because I try to put myself in their shoes as much as I can and say, gosh, if my parents lost their jobs, or if I was in that situation and people weren't looking at me and people weren't even acknowledging that it was a human being, like, how would that feel? So I believe that the system we live in now is not serving us as a collective. It's not fair, it's imbalance, it's just not right. And as a fellow citizen of this earth and of the United States, I know we can do better. And I know that if there are the Jeff Bezos and billionaires out there who benefited from the system that we all contributed to, I contributed to Jeff Bezos billions of dollars because I shopped on Amazon for forever. And this isn't to put shame or guilt on any of us, but it's to be more conscious and mindful of every action, every thought, everything we do, think has an equal and opposite effect. Again, the universal laws of the universe. So this is all to say that I've been meditating on this for the last like month and a half. I have my hermit mode in February, and really asked myself, what do I want to create in this world? What do I want my legacy to be? Why am I here? What is my dream? And these are huge questions that are probably going to evolve for me on a continuous basis. These are questions I've been asking myself since I was little. Like, why am I here? What am I meant to do? And the same thing keeps coming up for me is to create space and time for yourself every day to connect back to source, to connect back to spirit, to guide you on what you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to share in your own unique way. So this morning I was doing my morning rituals and my meditation, and like every day and like every human, I get caught up in my ego identity of, being trapped in fear and being like, okay, I created this space, spirit. I am letting go of the past, but the future is not exactly here yet. I'm in this mucky, like watery space of Pisces season, and I'm feeling a little lost. I'm feeling a little like I've left the shores of what I know, and now I'm kind of out sea, like paddling along, and I'm like, I don't see any land. And I spoke about this in the episode regarding Pisces season, of how this specific Pisces season at that time was about the Eight of Cups. And astrology and tarot is a language that's why I try to embody in a way and translate in a way for you to understand. So the reason why I love astrology so much is because it is a mathematical equation and sacred geometry, as well as combining the planetary movements, energy, and intuition. So in astrology, there are 12 houses, and if you look at a chart, a natal chart, it's a circle, and each house is divided into 30 degrees. If you're using the whole house system, which now I use because that's what I've been learning, and within each house, are 30 degrees, which makes up a deacon. And there are 3 deacons in each sign. So the degrees that you are born with matter. And that's why whenever I tell you about my specific energies, I always incorporate the degrees, because that matters, because that gives you a sense of my specific energies. And so people always ask, what about cusp? And I believe in cusp because I believe when you're in the last degrees of a sign going into another sign, like let's say when we're going from Pisces season, which is going to happen soon, into Aries season, I really do believe there is a blending of energies. But when you're using the system of deacons, there actually is no such thing as cusp, because you have specific degrees. So if you are a 0-0 Aries, it's a very different energy than if you were 20 degrees Aries. So if you can read a natal chart, or if you can just look it up on astro.com or astroseek.com, and just look at the degrees of your sun, moon, and rising sign, and then look up the corresponding deacon of that degrees. And this is how I've been learning now more and more in depth. Like, astrology in every system, you have like a basis, right? Like a gateway. And I really believe with astrology, your sun sign is like the gateway drug to all of it. And then you learn about your sun, your moon and your rising sign. And then you learn about where your Mars and your Mercury and your Venus are, and then your Jupiter and your Saturn and what houses they're in, and then the degrees and the deacons and what energy that corresponds to. And now I've really been associating the different deacons with their corresponding tarot and astrology go so well together. And whenever I do my morning meditation, I now incorporate astrology, and I look at my little my little natal chart thing and the transits, and then I look at the energies of the tarot, and I pull cards for myself. And I really love this. Like, this is what I feel like I was made for, was being this witchy shit, my witchy self, with my Jupiter in Scorpio in my 12th house, like super deep and super just like mystical and can't really explain in words. So, and a lot of this stuff that I'm learning, I don't necessarily have the words to communicate it. I translate it into a feeling first and an intuition. And then I drink some cacao and I come on here and I try to translate it to you in a way that you can understand. So the first deacon of Pisces, which we've already moved away from that energy, it was February 19th, I believe, to the 29th. So it's every 10 days, every 10 degrees, was the Eight of Cups. So if you're listening to this in the podcast format, you can always head to my YouTube channel to see the actual card that I'm holding up. And I'm using Mystic Mondays by my friend Grace Duong again. And this energy, again, like, everybody has different interpretations of the tarot and each card, and there's traditional meanings of each card. And I try to incorporate that into my understanding, but also just looking at it with my own sense of the feeling of the card that I get and my intuition. I believe the Eight of Cups is more about leaving behind what you know in this material realm and really seeking something more spiritual and deeper meaning. And it corresponds so well with Pisces season, because Pisces is so formless. You're really diving deep in the watery abyss of your spirituality, right? Like, we all came here trying to ask ourselves, and this is why I started the podcast with these questions of, why did I come here? What am I doing here? What is my greater purpose? What is my legacy? This deacon, so it would have been from March 1st to March 10th, and I'm assuming that most of you are going to be listening to this around Pisces season, is the Nine of Cups. And this is the wishes fulfilled card. And if you look at this, it's just like, why wouldn't you want this card? It's all bright and vibrant with pink and heartfelt. There's a heart, there's a cup in the middle. It's like all these cups are like radiating out of that one heart cup. This to me is all about really checking in with your heart space and asking yourself, what are your wishes and your dreams? And I mentioned in, again, the Pisces episode, that Pisces is all about the moon in tarot. It's your dreams and your fears, which are one and the same. When you want to pursue your dreams, when you have the courage to really say it out loud, on the other end of that are your fears, because you're going to have to move through your fears to get to your dreams. And a lot of the times we're afraid to even admit what our dreams are, because that would mean that we would have to face our fears and actually look at it, name it, and say, I'm going to work on it. I'm going to dive deep into my subconscious beliefs and programming and thinking to really deactivate that in my physical body and the neural pathways that makes me think these thoughts. So the last Deacon, which is March 10th through the 20th, which is coming up, and you'll probably be listening to it during this time, is the 10 of Cups. And this in the tarot is considered to be the happiest card, with the Sun card as well. But this is like a full wholeness. It's a fulfillment of happiness, of family, of feeling so whole that you don't need anything outside of you. You feel it so deeply within. And a cup's energy is emotional fulfillment. And this progression from the 8 of Cups to the wishes fulfilled to the 10 of Cups really, to me, embodies Pisces season. It's like leaving behind the mundane of it all, of what you've achieved physically, to asking yourself, what are my true wishes and desires, and what is it that I truly want in this lifetime, and what is going to give me wholeness and fulfillment. And these are all emotional, again, cups. This is activating it in your emotional body first before you take action on it in Aries season. So Aries season this year starts on the 20th, I believe, which is my birthday, my solar return. And that is the beginning of the solar new year, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's I am. It's ruled by Mars, which is passion, drive, creativity. It's like we're getting shit done, we're moving forward. So this time is definitely going to be a time where, again, you've maybe not, you don't know where you're going, you haven't seen the shore yet, but you've left the other shore behind, you're ready to let go of the past, but you're not quite certain of the future. And I think collectively we are all going through this right now. I've spoken to so many of my friends who are just like so confused about life, and that's also the shadow side of Pisces, is feeling confused, the illusions, the emotions, and the fears and the doubts coming up. And some people, if they don't have healthy ways to move through that energy, it can lead to addiction and substance abuse and just escapism in general. But if you have healthy ways to transmute that energy, like creativity, and most Pisces who are born during this time in the second Deacon are very famous artists. And I forgot to write down the list of the famous people born during this time, but I think one of them was Justin Bieber. He was a famous singer. But these are people who are so intuitive, so psychic, can move into the creative world. But again, their shadow side is when they don't have a grip of reality and they get lost in the sea. And so they turn to not healthy ways of transmuting that energy. So again, collectively we're moving through this energy, and individually you might be feeling this. Personally, as a Sagittarius rising, this is moving through the Pisces energy is moving through my 4th house of family. So always around this time of year is a feeling for me that I want to break away from my family and break away from the expectations and the familial ties. And I don't know if you can relate to this, because I recognize that this is a very immigrant specific experience, where I see a lot of my American friends don't have the same, not obligation, but it's this unsaid subconscious contract that you make with your family, that you are a part of them and they are a part of you, and you have to like be there for your elders and you have to support them and take care of them. And I recognize now, speaking to my other friends who are of immigrant parents, that this is something that we've all kind of grew up with. And you know, American culture is so about being individualistic, being a pioneer, being an entrepreneur, going out on your own. And that to me is a goal, but at the same time, like, I do have such deep rooted ties to my culture and my family, and my purpose here on earth, I really do, is to blend the two, is to feel rooted into my ancestors and my ancestry and my family, and I want to be there for them. Like, I want to show up for them. And that's why I stayed in New York during the panorama, the Panna Cotta, the Patricia Arquette, is because I didn't want to just bail. I didn't want to just be like, okay, bye. I wanted to be there for my parents and I wanted to be there for support. So how can I be there for them while also striking out on my own and being an entrepreneur and doing my own thing and not having to feel tied down by my cultural beliefs and ancestral ties, you know? So I would ask you, where in your life do you feel these energies and what I've shared so far? Like, do you feel like you've been able to really hone in into your heart space, what your true desires and passions are, what you want to bring forth into this world, what gives you emotional fulfillment and wholeness? And again, these are not really in the material world yet. They're emotions. They're in your emotional body because they're cups energy. This is Pisces energy again. And then when you do have those feelings, when you do have that in some kind of words or thought process, you can journal it, you can write it down, you could create art from it, music. This is such a creative time. It's a beautiful way to put on paper, put in music, put on canvas what you're feeling and what you're moving through and what you want to manifest in this physical reality for Aries season. And when we get into Aries season, which is all about the fire energy, that's when you have the fire energy to bring this forth. And then when we go into Taurus season, which is April to May, that's when you bring things in the physical form because that's earth energy. So this is how, and this is why I freaking love energy updates and astrology and tarot, because you're not meant to continually do and produce and do, you know, like, there's a timing, there's a divine timing for everything. And there's a moment where we have to be more mindful about our creations because we moved away from the earth age and we're now going into where we kind of are already, the air age, and sharing information and knowledge and creating things from Mother Earth and the material realm isn't always going to serve her and for us. We have to be more mindful of what we create and asking ourselves, like, what is your intention to bring these things forth? And that's why I believe social media and technology as an Aquarian moon and Venus is so powerful, because I believe that wisdom has been so underrated. You know, growing up in America, we were taught to, you know, get these fancy degrees from these Ivy League schools, but knowledge is something you learn in books. Knowledge is something that you learn from textbooks, you go to school, but wisdom is learned through experience. And I have said this so many times on here, and I'm going to keep repeating the same thing so that everyone hears them, that knowledge can only get you so far. Wisdom is when you've lived through it and you can relay that message to somebody else who is going through something similar, and you can help them move through that time. So me learning about psychology in a textbook is different than me going through fucking mental health issues, going through a breakup, going through losing money or starting my business. Like, that is, those are two different things. And I'm sure most people would very much appreciate both, but more the wisdom, because if I'm speaking about something that I haven't lived through, you're going to be like, but you didn't live through that. So I really believe that the combination of our lived experiences, of our embodied experiences as humans living this 3D form, our wisdom, combined with all this technology that is available to us, is going to be the new way we create, the new, or maybe it's not so new, but is the way that we grow and the way that we share and raise our individual and collective consciousness. And in the bio of Awaken and Align on Instagram, I say that my main intention is to help us individually and collectively raise our consciousness, because when we first work on ourselves and we heal ourselves and we notice the little patterns within ourselves, that automatically changes the vibration, changes the consciousness of this planet. And that's the only thing we can do, is really focus on ourselves, but also knowing that we have a soul family, we have a star family that we can lean into to help guide us. And that's why I believe community is so crucial during these times when we are separated by a panorama and we can't necessarily see each other face to face that much anymore. And also, okay, the downside is that maybe a lot of events in person have decreased, but I have met so many people around the world because of technology. Places in the world that I would never have thought would have found me. And having those connections from around the world makes me so excited, because we are becoming a more global community, that it's not just about your own country, your own town, but whatever you want to bring transmits into so many different formats around the world. And so I just also want to encourage you that when I started my TikTok last year, I started it with the intention to just dance and have fun. And it was a new creative way for me to just express myself. I wasn't expecting anything out of it. I was like, oh God, another social media platform to get into, but I just did it. And I have people now taking Reiki from me from Romania and Hong Kong and all over the place. And it was only because I was loving what I was doing and I was transmitting that frequency of love and joy out into this world, that that's how I believe we break through these algorithms and we break through anything really in life. And so it really showed me the power of intention, the power of your mind, and that whenever you just, again, I'm going to keep repeating myself because I really believe that this time is so crucial into bringing your dreams and your wishes and your manifestations to the forefront when Aries season starts. And that's why I've been on here sharing on TikTok, sharing on Instagram, sharing on this community and bringing things to you, because I want to empower you to really, really move through your own barriers and limitations that you set against yourself to create the life of your dreams. And when you make an intention and you have that intention powered by your joy and have passion be your lead and have fun, you can literally do anything. And the experiment of TikTok in the last year has really truly shown me that power, because again, I went into that so not expecting anything, not expecting to partner with TikTok and being one of their creators and having all of these amazing opportunities, paid opportunities come to me. And now I'm looking at other aspects of my life where I'm like, how can I just go into everything I do with that kind of joy and optimism and fun, and have my energy just transmit what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to do. So I wanted to keep this episode short so that you could digest it all. So I'll leave it at this. If you are listening to this when it goes live, which is March 10th on Wednesday. Mercury Wednesdays, the day of communication and commerce. The Sun and Neptune will be together in Pisces, and today is a beautiful day again to tap into that energy of the sun, the vitality, we revolve around the sun. The sun is our everything. It gives life to everything. And Neptune being the planet of, spirituality, love, interconnectedness, our dreams. So really use today, Wednesday the 10th, and these energies will still translate towards the weekend. Use this time to really tap in, go on meditative walks outside in nature. This week in New York is supposed to be in the 60s and it's super sunny out right now, and I'm planning to go outside for a walk, but I've just been really basking in the sun and going on these meditative walks and asking Mother Earth, like, what does she want me to share? How can we make this earth a better place? And then on Saturday, the 13th, which is the new moon in Pisces, and I mentioned this in the beginning, that this is a super, super delicious new moon. And if you want to join Roberto and I on our new moon prosperity, aligning our frequency to that of prosperity, and that's what it always is, right? It's not that we have to necessarily do anything. It's just remembering that all the abundance and prosperity and wealth is already in us. We just have to remove the blocks, the fears, the doubts that block that of prosperity coming to us. We will talk more about that on Saturday, but I just wanted to mention that Venus and Neptune will be together in Pisces, and Venus is the planet of love, of beauty, of everything good that is life, right? Like she brings abundance, she brings money, she brings wealth, she brings love. Again, Neptune, dreams, and it's said in astrology that Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. So like you're just going to get this gigantic explosion of love energy on this new moon day. And the new moon happens around 6 a.m. Eastern time, and the sun and the moon are together in Pisces at 23 degrees. And 23 in numerology breaks down to a 5, and we are in the 5 year of change. And I really do believe that the degrees have a significance energetically. And when I see 23, we've had, I think, 6 other moons at that degree point. It's really activating within us this energy of change. What do you want? What do you want to bring forth in this world? What are you ready to leave behind? New moons are new beginnings, planting the seeds in the dark. You don't necessarily see the steps ahead of you, but you plant your intentions in the dark of the moon with the intention that throughout the rest of the moon cycle until the full moon, or 6 months from now when it's the full moon in Pisces, you will start working on that intention. You will bring that baby or that creation into fruition. And this is a super fertile new moon too. So if anybody wants to have a baby, or if you want to launch a project or a creative project, this is a very, very beautiful new moon to create those intentions with. And since it is such a lovely, lovely love bomb, I'm sure a lot of people will get frisky on this day. But again, the sun, the moon, Venus, and Neptune are all going to be together on Saturday the 13th, and 13th is a divine feminine number. So just like all this feminine energy of creation, of intuition, and I already feel this energy now. And I even decided to get dressed up in my most beautiful clothes and do my hair and put on my beautiful jewelry. Like I'm really embodying this energy. And whenever I channel these planets and energies, like I find myself speaking like them too. I just feel very feminine, very soft, very beautiful, very loving. And it's just a super beautiful new moon to create anything that your heart desires. And again, in an emotional way, like what's going to bring you the ultimate fulfillment in your life. So I wanted to share, and I'm getting butterflies even thinking about it. I wanted to share my new moon intention, but also my ultimate dream, because I think ultimately I've always been afraid to share them because first of all, I'm working on this, but I don't trust a lot of people. I have a lot of friends, but I have a very, very small group of people where I share my actual feelings to, and I'm working on it in my own way. My moon and Venus are in Aquarius, so I can come off as a very icy queen, but when I when I trust somebody, which takes time, I really share these things, but I really do believe the power in vocalizing your dreams. And this is why I've been sharing so much on here. I think this is the third episode in a row that I'm lending my voice and my face on YouTube. And I'm showing up more in different ways on Clubhouse and on TikTok and Instagram. My ultimate dream is to be the next Laura Chung. And let me explain, because I don't want to be the next Oprah. I don't want to be the next Jay Shetty or the next Deepak Chopra or any of those thought leaders and motivational speakers. That's the kind of career that I would love to have, is to speak on a bigger platform, interview people about topics that matter, but I want to be fully embodied as Laura Chung. I want to be the next Laura Chung. I want to be the best version of myself. And I want to speak about topics that matter. And I just remember going to high school and Oprah would be on every day at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And I would watch her show when I could. After high school, after school, and I would just watch for an hour about the things that she was talking about. And it planted a seed within me that I always love to go deep. Like if you meet me in person, the first thing I'll probably ask you is, what are your dreams? What do you want to do? What do you love to do? What brings you joy? What sets your soul on fire? What kind of music do you like? Where do you like to travel to? What are your favorite kind of foods? Like, I'll never ask you really anything surface level, because I like to get beyond surface level bullshit like very quickly. And I really believe that's why I was so called to do this podcast in 2018. And the messages that kept coming through was to share, 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 keep talking, keep talking. And it truly is the one thing that gives me so much joy in my life. I hold, as you know, weekly circles, and I look forward to them because it's a chance for me to learn from other people what they're thinking about. And they say the greatest teachers are actually students, that they learn from other people. And I just love the topics we talk about, because we don't just talk about like astral traveling and ascension and going into different planetary systems, which obviously it's so cool to me because I'm weird like that, but also social change, social justice, how we're actually going to change this world, climate change, like all of these things that matter now. And I don't believe we should wait until we change this world for future generations. We actually have to change it now for us. And I feel like we're at a critical moment in time, and I feel this sense of urgency, and I have to remind myself that time doesn't work like that and you have to rest. Sometimes I find myself having sleepless nights, not being able to go to sleep because of all the shit that's going on in this world. And I have to remind myself that there's other people, there's a soul family, there's a star family, that everyone's doing their part. So that gives me ease of mind. But my ultimate purpose in this lifetime is to speak on these greater platforms and speak about these things and create change for all of us. And Again, how it's formed, I'm not really sure because I'm still in that like Pisces, like ocean phase where I don't see the first step. I don't know exactly who I need to collaborate with and where I need to go, what I need to do. Is this a book? Is this a documentary? Is this a course? Or is it everything? I don't know. And I'm really setting my intentions for this new moon in Pisces because I'm ready. Hashtag I'm ready. I'm ready to make shit happen and I'm ready to stop being so afraid. First of all, being afraid of talking about these things and being judged. Second of all, of my own like fear of success and fear of failure, that when all of the things that I want come, like I'm ultimately, I think, afraid of that I want so many things, and not even material things. I just want people to live their best life. I really want to remind people of their capabilities to dream. And I think I've gotten so much pushback growing up of, living in reality and living, modestly and stop daydreaming. But you know what? Fuck that. What are we without our dreams? Why did God give us, why did the universe spirit give us our imagination, our visualization, our dreams, if they're not for something, right? So I'm saying all of this because I'm finally ready to voice my dreams and where I'm taking my platforms and where I'm taking my dharma, my purpose, my north node, wherever it takes me, it takes me. I'm surrendering to the divine path of what my higher self wrote in my plan. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I trust. And I finally, like, I feel like I've had so many aha moments in the last month and a half just by creating space and time for myself to let go of what I know in the past and like doing things based on, again, the reactionary mode of survival and trusting that everything is laid out and everything is going to be okay, and that I am taken care of and that I am full and whole, like this 10 of cups, and that I can really just put forth the steps and the action steps towards my future, which today is the 9th. So 12 days until Aries season, which I'm so excited about, by the way. And we'll talk more about that in the next coming week. But again, I just send you, as always, all the love, all the health, abundance, wealth, whatever you want to do in this lifetime. I hope my talks help you. And I hope that you feel inspired and motivated. And if not motivated, then at least a glimmer of hope that when we are all collectively going through these times of doubt and like, what the heck is my life and what am I doing? That you can remember that you actually have a lot. You have a home. I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you have a technological, is that a right word? You have technology to hear this. You have food, you have clothes, and you have a job, I'm assuming. If not, you can get a job. And anything more than that is provided for. We are all provided for. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.